So my name is Barbara Nelson, Chief Technology Officer at iPass. iPass is in the enterprise mobility space, making it easy for enterprise users to get connected wherever they happen to be all over the world. So the purpose of this conversation is asking a question, and I'm a little biased in my answer to the question, which is, as the mobile networks evolve, is 4G enough, or is Wi-Fi here to stay? And as a Wi-Fi service provider to the masses, I would have to say Wi-Fi is here to stay. No. The demand on data is just growing and growing and growing, and the demand for data is outgrowing the willingness to pay. So users are expecting to use more and more and more data, but they're not willing to pay more and more and more for that data. So as a result, the carriers who are providing the pipes are being challenged over how can they provide bigger pipes, more capacity, without just pushing up against the limit of what the users will find acceptable. LTE is definitely a step in the right direction. It is lower cost per gigabyte than 3G. It's a more efficient use of spectrum, and it's an easier network architecture. So certainly we are projecting that relative to 3G, LTE 4G certainly saves the carriers money. The cost per bit goes down. At the same time, this is new investment. It's still got spectrum costs. So it's not like it gets free. It's just cheaper than comparing to the equivalent of the 3G networks. But we know how much money all these carriers spent on 3G networks. They're still trying to recoup the costs of all that investment. So is it enough? No. It's not enough today. It's not in enough places. It's got coverage limitations. So if you had an LTE only phone, it would be a fine experience in certain locations and a pretty solitary experience in other locations. The spectrum is expensive. And the demand, as I mentioned earlier, the demand is exceeding the supply of capacity. So you might say, well, that's just today. How about into the future? Into the future, it just gets even worse. The data demands are going up far higher than the capacity demands. Therefore, we have to switch to what else is available, what other networks are out there. And as a result, the leading candidate of an alternative network is Wi-Fi. There was a time when people said, well, once a user has a 3G card, they never need Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is going to go the way of dial. iPass has a long history in dial. We know what it's like to be on a network that has moved out of popularity. Wi-Fi is not going the way of dial. Wi-Fi is being seen by those same naysayers that a few years ago were saying, Wi-Fi is dead, who needs Wi-Fi, everyone's got 3G. Those same companies are coming back saying, tell us about that Wi-Fi network. So in quick summary, is 4G enough? Never. Not today, not tomorrow. Is Wi-Fi here to stay? Absolutely, and that's not just an iPass point of view. That is the point of view of the carriers all around the world as they are rapidly either building out their own Wi-Fi infrastructure or figuring out how to partner with everybody else's Wi-Fi infrastructure.
All right, thank you, Barbara. I guess I'll...
So I'm Steve Shum with a company called Kineta Wireless. We make a product that lets mobile operators actually turn Wi-Fi into part of their network, to literally turn a Wi-Fi access point into a mini cell tower. Sometimes people say it's sort of like making it into a femtocell. It's not a femtocell, it's still using Wi-Fi technology, but now you can use that Wi-Fi that sits in your home, in your office, to literally get 5 bars of coverage. I don't know if that's me or not.
I think you're all right.
5 bars of coverage. And for the mobile operator to actually turn Wi-Fi and the public internet, or the public Wi-Fi or personal home Wi-Fi into part of their network. So it becomes additional capacity, coverage, offload solution for them. We do a lot of business with T-Mobile here in the US, a lot of business with operators around the world. And really playing off of what Barbara said, Wi-Fi is absolutely here to stay.
The thing is now, so now they look at Wi-Fi as a very important, Wi-Fi offload, very critical part of their toolkit to address the data tsunami, as well it is, but they think they do it now they've kind of gotten past and started ignoring the fact that it also is a bit of a threat. So as much as it's an opportunity, it is a bit of a threat as well. Do you guys feel that it's a threat to the carriers at all in any way?
I don't think they see it necessarily as a threat. I think they do see it as a challenge, because one of these networks is not like the other. And there are certain things that, by being on regulated networks, they have come to expect and their users have come to expect. And then once they try and leverage Wi-Fi, it's not exactly the same, and it doesn't have the exact same quality of service, and so they're challenged in how they position that.